Video games. We all love them, but which one's the best? Super Mario Brothers? Pitfall? But what's the best system? The NES? The ZX Spectrum? Yes, I said ZX Spectrum, like a Z, but Z. Because in lands not of America, people pronounce Z as Z. And since the ZX Spectrum isn't from America, I pronounce it Z. A lot of people do. A lot of people hate people for pronouncing Z. I think Z sounds better because ZX Spectrum sounds weird. But anyway, join me on a quest and together we'll find the best video games and the best video game systems. Okay, so first off, let's talk about the NES or Family Computer. Family Computer, or the NES we know in Japan, is basically the Japan version of the Nintendo Entertainment System, which is our video game system in America. It was released in 1983, July 15th, 1983 to be exact. And it was available in Japan, I think, until 2008, which was really long. It had a really long lifespan. And not only could you buy it still in 2008, you can still get it repaired by the Nintendo repair shop. And the price in Japan was 14,800 yen, Japanese yen. So in America, the release price was $299, but that was for the deluxe set. I'll get into that later. But the Famicom came in a box on screen. There was no like sports set or anything like that. It just came with a system, and there was all these peripherals like that. Now, really cool is the instruction booklet. Had two of them, one for adults and one for kids. The kids one was formed like a comic book or manga, and the adult one was just a boring adult one like we got in America. Okay, now on to the Nintendo Entertainment System. The Nintendo Entertainment System is, of course, the American release of the Family Computer. For its complete North American release, the Nintendo Entertainment System was progressively released over the ensuing years in 4 different bundles: the Deluxe Set, the Control Deck, the Action Set, and the Power Set. The Deluxe Set, the first one, was retailing at $199.99, equivalent to $475 in 2015, including Rob the Robot, a light gun called the NES Zapper, 2 controllers, and 2 game packs, Gyromite and Duck Hunt. The basic set, retailing at $89.99 with no game, so it's basically just NES and 2 controllers, no game. And another, sorry, this made me laugh. Another version of the action set, another version of the basic set was $99 and came with Super Mario Brothers. The action set, the third one, was retailing in 1988 for $149.99, came with the Control Deck, 2 game controllers, an NES Zapper, a dual game pack containing both Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. In 1989, the release of the Game Boy. Oh, never mind. In 1989, the Power Set included the console. The Power Set included the console, 2 game controllers, NES Zapper, a power pad, and a triple game pack containing Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet. In 1990, a sports set bundle was released, including the console was an NES satellite. It was basically an infrared wireless multi-tap adapter for 4 game controllers, kind of like the equivalent of Xbox, and a dual game pack containing Super Spike, V-Ball, and Nintendo World Cup. 2 more bundle packages were later released using the original model NES console, the Challenge set in 1992, including the console, 2 controllers, and Super Mario Bros. 3 game pack, for a release of $89.99. The basic set, first released in 1987, was repackaged for retail at $89.99, including the console, 2 controllers, and was no longer bundled with a cartridge. Instead, it contained a book called The Official Nintendo Player's Guide, which contained detailed information of every NES game made up to that point. Although the Japanese Famicom, North America, and European NES versions included the same hardware, there were certainly key differences among the systems. The original Japanese Famicom was predominantly white plastic with a dark red trim. It featured a top-loading cartridge slot, grooves on both sides of the deck, which the hard-wired game controllers could be placed when not in use, a 15-pin expansion port located on the front panel for accessories. The original NES, meanwhile, featured a front-loading cartridge covered by a small hinged door that could be opened to insert or remove a cartridge, and closed at other times. It featured a more subdued gray, black, and red color scheme. An expansion port was found on the bottom of the unit, and the cartridge conductor pinout was changed. In the UK, Italy, and Australia, which are PAL A region, 2 versions of the NES were released, the Mattel version and the NES version. When NES was first released in those countries, it was distributed by Mattel, and Nintendo decided to use a lockout chip specifically for those countries. Different from the chip used in other European countries. When Nintendo took over European distribution in 1990, they produced consoles that were labeled NES version. Therefore, the only difference between the two are the text on the front flap and the texture on the top bottom of the casing. In October 1993, Nintendo redesigned the NES to follow many of the same design cues as the newly introduced Nintendo Entertainment System and the Japanese Super Famicom. Like the Super Nintendo, the NES 101 model and the Japanese Super Famicom, the NES 101 model loaded cartridges through a covered slot on the top of the unit, replacing the complicated mechanism of the earlier design. For this reason, the NES 101 is known informally as the top loader among Nintendo fans. In December 1993, the Famicom received a similar redesign. It also loads cartridges through the covered slot on the top of the unit, and uses non-hardwired controllers because HVC 101 used the opposite video output instead of being RF, only like the HVC 1. Nintendo marketed the new model as the AV Famicom, or Ibushiro Famicom. Since the new controllers did not have microphones on them, the second controller, like the second controller on the original console, certain games such as the Disk System version, Legend of Zelda, and Raid on Bugling Bay will have certain tricks that cannot be replicated when playing on an HVC 101. Famicom without a modded controller, however, the HVC 101 Famicom is compatible with most NES controllers, due to having the same controller port. Nintendo had also released a 3D graphic capable headset. However, this peripheral was never released outside of Japan. In closing, I would like to talk about other regions the NES was in. Now, in Korea, the NES was called the Hyundai Convoy, and it was just distributed by someone named Hyundai Convoy. And in Russia, it was called the Dendy, and I'll show some pictures. And basically, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. This is going to be a really great series, and let's try to find the best video game and best video game console. Now, my ratings, I give the NES and Famicom 4.5 stars out of 5. The reason why I took a half star off is because the lockout chip NES breaks a lot. So, anyway guys, see you guys next time.